Hello, and welcome to the Washington Farm Bureau Update, a podcast designed to provide the latest agriculture, legislative, and Farm Bureau information. Thank you, friends, for joining us. I'm Ben Tyndall. Well, joining me at the mic today is Tom Davis and Bailey Peters, and we're going to just have a conversation. This has been an incredibly long, very productive, very positive week, but a whole lot has been going on. But Tom, I hate to break it to you, it's not over. You don't get to rest just yet. I know there's a lot on your plate for this upcoming week, and so really let us know, kind of clue us in what's going on this week.
So very well put, Ben. I mean, we're almost done. 13 days left of session, but today is Friday, and that just so happens that today is the second important policy cutoff. Right. So this is the cutoff for what we call the opposite House bills. So House bills are now in the Senate, Senate bills are in the House. And if they don't get through policy committees today, they're technically dead. And then Monday is the fiscal policy or fiscal committee cutoff. And then next Friday, a week from today, the House of Origin. The House bills have to be out of the Senate, Senate bills have to be out of the House to stay alive, unless they're somehow connected to the budget or some other agreements amongst the majority parties in the legislature. So again, these cutoffs, as we've talked about in past, are all designed to make bills go away. So if there's a host of bills that are geared up to get through right now as we're speaking. The Senate Ag Committee is meeting, and today is the last hearing date for that committee. So if the bills that are in there that have been heard today or been heard in the past week, if they don't get through, then they're dead. So there are a couple of bills in that committee that we're watching as we speak. So this is pretty timely. One of those is House Bill 2498 that we have talked to our many listeners about in past weeks. And that's a good Representative Corey bill that addresses DNR leases when they are terminated early. And so that bill has a hearing today. And I think with DNR support, that bill is going to get out this afternoon and continue to work through the process. Good. So yeah, it's a good government bill. It's good for farmers, ranchers that enter into those lease agreements with the department. I wish I had a long list of really good bills like that to tell folks about, but sadly, there isn't a lot of them. Now, when it comes to bad bills, we've got one that, in fact, we're issuing another kind of an alert podcast that will go out before this one. It's my understanding that talks about House Bill 1110, and that's the bill that creates the low carbon fuel standard. That's got a hearing on Monday at 1:30 in the Senate Transportation Committee. That's been on our bad bill list all session, and we thought it was dead, and then they started moving it along this week, and they shifted it over to the Transportation Committee for this hearing. So if you missed the other podcast or now you're listening to this one, just another reminder, not even a gentle reminder, maybe a pushing you in the back reminder to, if you can, get to Olympia and let these legislators know that these types of bills are just so harmful and damaging to agriculture. These urban legislators don't understand commodity prices. They don't understand the rising cost of farm inputs. And so it's up to our farmers to tell their farm story. And really what would be the best in a testimony in a hearing situation like that is to come with data. Come with how many gallons of fuel do you use every year? And then a simple multiplication of what would a 57 cent a gallon increase look like to your farm operation. That's just a simple data point that would help better tell the story to legislators of why these types of increases are cumulative to farmers who see their commodity prices drop and their farm input prices go up. And that makes it very challenging for these family farms to stay economically viable over the long term. So that 1110 is definitely one of those bills that we continue to track. House Bill 2947 is not a farm bill in particular. It's one of those bills dealing with the gun magazines, and the bills that there were two that define a high capacity gun magazine as 10 rounds or more than 10, and one at more than 15. Those two bills died at the last policy cutoff, but now after the cutoff, the majority parties have introduced yet another bill, again, 2947. This one defines it as anything more than 15 rounds per magazine, and it includes a buyback program through the state patrol, as if a buyback program is actually needed. But that creates a fiscal connection to the bill, which ties it to the budget, which makes it exist outside of these other cutoff dates. So that would be an excellent bill for folks to contact their legislators about and let them know that they oppose House Bill 2947. And then Senate Bill 6518 is one of those interesting stories where that's the chlorpyrifos ban. We were strongly opposed to the underlying bill. We were able to get an amendment. Actually, it was a striking amendment, which meant that it eliminated all of the original language and dropped in language that the ag lobbyists could support. If a bill like this has to go through, we'd prefer it look like this. Now, our preference would be that there be no bill. But in this world of compromise that we live in the legislative process, this was seen as the best step forward. And this bill now takes it to Department of Agriculture to use their expertise to do a review on chlorpyrifos, whether or not it should continue to be used, but it does not include a 250-foot buffer, does not include a 48-hour notification requirement, does not include a ban on aerial application of chlorpyrifos. So it lets the experts actually do the work that they're designed to do, rather than, as I said, I was quoted in the Capitol Press this week, citizen legislators should not be making the decision on what chemicals farmers ought to be able to use. That should be left to Department of Ag that has been created for such a use, such a purpose. So that bill came out of committee this morning, and now will go to the Appropriations Committee, and then if it gets through there by Monday, then it goes to the floor, and then it'd have to be passed out by Friday. Now, in the political world, you do a lot of risk management, just like our members do on their farms. And in a case like this, if the bill has left the committee, it can still be amended. So there will be attempts by supporters of a ban to further amend this bill back to how they like it. And we've been promised by both House and Democrat, or Republican and Democrat members on the House Ag Committee, that they will try to protect this bill and keep it from being amended back to a version that they know the farm community doesn't support. So we have to take them at their word, and we'll continue to work and watch this bill as it moves forward.
So, Tom, I kind of feel like you're describing this washer that's just constantly on a spin cycle when you explain the whole legislative process, and kind of when we've communicated to our members, it probably feels like we're a broken record. We need you, we need you, we need you. But I'm hearing when you explain the changes that have happened with chlorpyrifos, it's effective. Our members have... when we send out those action alerts, we do need them, and we need their voice, and we need their reasoning, because they live and breathe this process every day of their lives. And so can you speak to that a little bit? We're not a broken record.
Right. It's funny that you use the washer or dryer example, because honestly, this last week, as I walked past our dryer at home, and there was something in there that was kind of thumping around, I thought, that's how I kind of feel. I feel like a pair of tennis shoes in the dryer that are just being tossed to and fro constantly. And but you're absolutely right, to get back to your point now that I'm done with that image. If it wasn't for our members who were able to come and testify on a bill like this, and they were able to do it in the Senate, they were able to do it in the House, that's what really makes a difference to these legislators who, some of them are doing the best they can with the knowledge that they have, but if they don't have a farming background, it's hard for them to really understand why a bill like this is even that big of a deal to us. So when we have our folks come and do such a compelling job in telling their farm stories, it helps to illuminate to these legislators a world that they're not familiar with. And again, it's as I jokingly say, it's not a pretty face in a suit like me that's coming in, but it's a real human being that has the expertise, stop laughing, Bailey, that has the expertise of working the land and growing those crops, raising those livestock, who are the experts. And so you have issue experts coming in and talking to the legislators, and that's critical.
But along those lines, this is a powerful example for our members to show we had a bill that was very bad initially, and then it changed and morphed. Why? Because we had voices like our members coming out. It wasn't just the lobbyists and the advocates that are supposed to be doing this and doing a fantastic job, but we had actual people on the ground sharing their experiences. And the legislators listened. They implemented some of these changes, made it more palatable. In many cases, bills go away because they do hear from our members, and our members' voices really do matter and make a powerful difference. So this is a powerful example to me that I hope we can show to our members that we do need you, and not just we need you, you're making a difference, and we're seeing that change, especially in this phase of the legislative process.
Exactly. Well, and this is a committee that has a majority Democrats on it, and it passed. Our striking amendment was supported by most of those Democrats and by most of the Republicans.
Yeah.
So the folks that came in and testified were compelling enough to sway people on both parties.
Right.
To not vote on the underlying bill, but to vote on the striker that was more user-friendly to the farming community.
And I think, going back to my washer analogy, it's just ingrained in my brain, but there's been so many bad bills introduced throughout this entire session, and it's kind of the name of the game for the past 2 sessions that I've been here at Farm Bureau. But for our members to know, we don't call on their testimony and their stories unless we absolutely need them. And so this is one of those bills that we needed that perspective. And I think that just speaks volumes to how much a voice of a farmer does matter, because you're the expert in your field. Pun completely intended.
And as a tennis shoe in a dryer rumbling around, I'm going back then to tumbling back to House Bill 1110, which is the low carbon fuel standard bill next Monday. So again, it's a call to action to our members that if they can get to Olympia, it would be so important for them to come and talk about what, again, a 57 cent per gallon fuel tax, what difference that would make to your farm operation. It's so important for these legislators not only to see a bunch of people, farmers in the hearing room, whether or not you want to testify or not, but to see people cared enough to come, and then to have a number of you come and testify on these impacts. We really need a good showing to push this bad bill back.
Well, a lot of you may have seen this on our Facebook page in particular, but the Columbia River System Operations, their draft environmental impact statement. Tom's going to share with us a little bit about what that is and kind of educate us. So, Tom, take it away.
Well, now this is where I wish we had the music in the background that I could say, "This just in," like a good news broadcaster would say. But many of you have been watching the battle, in a sense, over the 4 lower Snake River dams and the effort by some environmental groups, tribes, to take out those dams. And they're using the plight of the orcas right now as one of their reasons, which is, I think, shameful. But that's just what has been happening. Now, fortunately, in the midst of all of the kind of the circus event over the orcas, the salmon, and taking out the dams, 3 federal agencies, the Corps of Engineers, the Bureau of Reclamation, and Bonneville Power Administration, have been working on an EIS, an environmental impact statement, to look at the future of the operation of those dams. And the concern many of us have had as we've been waiting for this is whether or not they would agree, in a sense, with these activists that the dam should be removed. Well, I haven't had a chance to read through the entire document that was released this morning, but a quick summary is it does not call for the removal of the dams. It calls for continued operation of the dams with some changes that would be more fish friendly. But the bottom line is, at least at this point in time, we don't see a strong effort to take out the dams. And so that's so vital to the communities that depend on them, as well as the farmers that use the dam operations for movement of product up and down the river and for irrigation. So, in the midst of some bad information or bad news during the legislative session, this is tremendous news for the ag industry in that southeast corner of the state. And actually for all of Washington, because of the power production that we all rely upon from those dams.
Absolutely. No, that is very encouraging. I know we have a lot riding on that. Tom, thank you so much for that information. As always, we really appreciate you and Bree, your work and advocacy for us on the Hill. Well, I want to shift a little bit. We're going to kind of change directions a little bit here. We have several special guests with us this week that I'm excited to introduce to you all, to our listeners. The first with us is Ann Lawrence, our second vice president for the organization. We are so honored that you would step in and take part in this with us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Well, Ann, you came up to Olympia to take part in Ag Day. Give us your thoughts on it. We've been talking about this for really, months now, be it the emails or through the podcasts. We had members come out and take part in this, yourself as well. What did you think? Give us your take.
Well, Ben, we had enthusiastic members that came together from all across the state with beautiful, bountiful gift bags filled with agricultural products donated by members from all across the great state of Washington. We had bags filled with seeds, jams, jellies, honey, apples, grape juice, tree seedlings, a.k.a. carbon sponges, applets and cotlets, cheese, and then we were topped off with gorgeous, delicate tulip bouquets, and they were received with great excitement. They generated a lot of excitement around the Capitol and in the offices, and several of the legislative assistants actually approached us on the steps asking for planting instructions on how to put their new carbon sponges, aka hemlock trees, into the ground.
Well, I will say, I've, as we mentioned on here a couple times, I worked at the legislature for about 3 years. And I'm not biased, but I don't think I had seen better gift bags presented to legislators during my time. So this was definitely, we did really good this year.
We received that same feedback. Some of the legislators were incredibly generous and shared everything, and others took everything home. So we think it was a hit.
Their prerogative, I guess. It was definitely a hit. And we want to thank our members for sending so much and adding so much to those bags. They were incredible. Well, now tell us a little bit. We had in that morning at 10 o'clock, we all went up to the gallery for the resolution. It was, I thought it was fairly impactful to one, hear our names read. You got mentioned by name even, and then to have senators stand up and show, one, their support for the organization, but also just their support for ag.
It's really an honor for me to sponsor this resolution and to speak to it on the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Farm Bureau, and I want to assure all the members that I was not there. I think there's some figures and things in this resolution that bear repeating, and I believe that we forget how large of an impact agriculture in Washington State has and what role the Farm Bureau plays. And the Farm Bureau represents 46,000 members in Washington State of farmers. And they not only represent us here in Olympia, but they also represent us in Washington, D.C., and they're always working to improve the agricultural community. And when we look at the impacts, $51 billion in revenue for the state and 164,000 jobs in agriculture. And so this is a tremendous impact, very important for agriculture, very important for our state, and I'd urge the members to adopt this resolution.
I am honored to rise in support of Senate Resolution 8679. You know, many of the family-owned farms that are called out in this resolution are generational. My family, my dad's family, had a third-generation farm. It's still in my family. My brother has it. My mom's family had a fourth-generation farm. Unfortunately, it was sold when no one could take it over. My husband and I just signed papers yesterday to finish purchasing my husband's family farm. And so we're going to be encouraging our children, our grandchildren, to farm right along with us. In fact, my granddaughter is graduating this year, and she was elected in her senior class to be most likely be a farmer. So I don't know what her classmates know about her, but she does like the farm life. So I'm hoping that that's what we're going to be doing. And, you know, Farm Bureau is going to be right there with us. I know they are, because they've been there for generations before, and I'm sure they're going to be there for our generational farm as well. So congratulations to the Farm Bureau. Thank you.
It's an honor to rise in support of this resolution. And I just want to talk about some of my local Farm Bureau organizations. They're made up of farmers that are so passionate about what they do, how they grow food for the rest of us. But the big thing I wanted to share with this body today is the work they do to educate others. They're always stepping up to, put on tours and things like that for people in their communities to better understand what they do, how they care for their animals and the environment. They're always stepping forward to do that, Mr. President. They're always part of the discussion. They want to be a part of the solution in the education process. And I'm so proud to call them neighbors and friends, but I'm proud of what they do and the work ethic that they represent to the state of Washington and to so many generations of farmers. I'd urge support. Thank you.
Question before the Senate is adoption of Senate Resolution 8679. Those in favor, please say aye. Many opposed, please say no. The resolution is adopted. It gives me great pleasure to recognize that we have a number of guests from the Washington Farm Bureau. I want to particularly mention Mike LaPlante, the president of Washington Farm Bureau, Brad Haberman, the first vice president, Ann Lawrence, second vice president, and John Stolmiller, who is the chief executive officer. Would the Senate please join me in welcoming him to the Senate chamber?
And as a leader in the organization, but also as a farmer, how did that impact you, hearing what the senators had to say?
The ambiance in the room was just awe from our members. We sat together and looked at each other and looked at the notes on the screen and heard from Senators Honeyford, Shelley Short, and Judy Warnick, who all spoke out as champions of ag and lent their support to the resolution. And that just felt really good.
Good. I know that reminder and that consistent reminder coming from other senators, but also for senators to hear that reminder that ag is here, we're important, we're making a difference, and we need to be supported.
We're vital. Feeding you, and we love doing it. We want to keep doing it.
Absolutely. So along with the resolution, I think before and after that, you and some of the other officers had some real key meetings with several of the leaders in both the House and Senate. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those meetings? What was the feedback on it? Right.
So one of the highlights, honestly, was meeting Speaker Jenkins. She has a strong ag background. She raised and showed animals when she was young. She's from a dairy farm. She has a brother in Wisconsin who is still dairying. And she feels ag from her soul. She understands it. So while we may not agree completely politically with all of this, the beliefs that she has and the party that she is in, I think we can find common ground. And Absolutely. I really feel strongly that we're going to be able to work with her.
Yes. I love that. That was something that I heard, I guess, I don't know who told me, but yesterday. I didn't realize that about her. That is actually pretty incredible.
I was really pleasantly surprised. And I had no preconceived notion of who she was, but I was pleasantly surprised, and I really genuinely liked her.
That's so good. And that could be that is going to be a key relationship to make sure we have.
As far as other relationships, when our members show up at the Capitol, it is so important to strengthen relationships with our legislators. Mm-hmm. They see our emails, they hear our phone calls, they hear complaints. But to put a face and a family with what's happening when they legislate one way or another, and to understand the facts around agriculture and how this could negatively impact us, just a simple stroke of the pencil can affect so many people's lives. You just can't overstate the importance and the significance of members showing up as constituents and as farmers. So I think that's always helpful. And when we take, as the officers and Tom and Bree went around speaking with legislators at a few appointments, just showing them what bills are good, what bills we'd really like to see go away. They know in their hearts, but when you have that conversation, it's helpful. And sometimes they're even hashing out thoughts in their own mind, and they need to hear from us. So that was good.
Yes. Yeah. No, these are people that definitely need that interaction, and our members can definitely make an impact.
Now, Ann, you were able to come back to the office after the Ag Day, and we kind of had conversation with members. And what was some of the conversation that you heard from our members that actually came to this event?
A lot of enthusiasm. They were super proud to hand out those bags that showed what is grown in the state of Washington, the diversity. They were thrilled to hand those out and to listen to testimony in the morning, to walk through the Capitol and through the offices and meet people and to hear the positive feedback. And then, of course, it was Beef Day.
Yes.
That also helped.
That
too.
was super special. We all got lunch.
Yep.
It was just a great week for ag at the Capitol.
Really
a lot of
was.
ag advocacy. I always say advocacy.
I like that.
It's great. The officers, you guys have been here pretty much all week, and it's been great to have you here. So thank you for dedicating a week to be here and just advocate for our industry.
Yes.
Thank you both so much. We just really love having your support, and you guys have been wonderful.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, we'll probably talk with Ann maybe in a couple of weeks. We're gearing up for leadership conference, and so we'll definitely have Ann back on, and we'll be talking more about that too.
That I can't wait for. That'll be wonderful. Thank you both.
Thank you, Ann. Appreciate you. Well, like Ann has shared, this has been a very important and very big week for the Washington Farm Bureau. It has also been a big week for FFA. Well, I am here with Abby Dorhauer from Yelm and Mara Soto from Chehalis. Did I say those right? Yes. All right. And you are both FFA state officers. So wanted to give you the opportunity. Tell us a little bit why you're here today. What brings you to our neck of the woods, ladies?
Yeah, so we are actually in the middle of celebrating FFA week right now. So every week in February, or every year in February, there's a week dedicated to FFA, and that happens to be this week. And today, Washington FFA decided that it's gonna be Thank a Farmer Thursday. So we challenged our members to go out and research an ag career or thank a farmer just to understand the agricultural industry a little bit more. And so as state officers, we decided to job shadow some agricultural companies, which is why Mara and I chose the Farm Bureau, as you help members and small farmers all across the state.
I love it. I love it. So Mara, tell me a little bit about what the day has looked like. So you came out here earlier this morning, and what's taken part? What do you enjoy?
So we've gotten to see a little bit about what Bailey does here at the building. Then we got to head over to the Capitol, and today's beef day at the Capitol. So we got to try some awesome beef that was there. And then we hopped on here and we're with you guys. So
Excellent. And this is the highlight. I know.
Of course.
No, it's all downhill from here, I'm sure. But, well, tell us a little bit. So you're state officers. For a lot of our members, they'll know exactly what that is. They have a lot of background maybe with FFA directly. For someone myself, I didn't necessarily grow up in that arena. So tell me and kind of clue me in, and maybe some of our other listeners, what exactly is an FFA state officer? What does your role entail?
Yeah, so this year we take a year in between high school and college. So we all graduated last year. There's 6 of us, and we were elected last May. So we travel around the state, and we represent the members of Washington FFA. There's nearly 12,000 members in our organization. Wow. So we are their voice. We get to work at Capitol Hill doing some legislative work. We also got to go to Washington, D.C. and do some more legislative work there. Went to National Convention, and we're national delegates, giving the members of Washington FFA a voice at the national level as well. We travel around to different classrooms giving workshops about leadership, FFA, agriculture.
So it's just a year's service, giving back to the organization that gave us a lot during high school.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you mentioned, that you did so much with FFA during high school. What was your involvement in high school? So kind of what does the program kind of look like?
So it can look almost however you want it to. There's a lot of different pathways for students to get involved in. I didn't come from a traditional ag background per se, so what really got me involved was some of the career development events and leadership development events that we did. I was involved in prepared public speaking, agricultural sales, employment skills, so really those events that get you prepped for real life situations that are going to happen in the future. And through that, I kind of gained an appreciation for agriculture, started getting involved in more of the community service aspect of it, and became a more well-rounded member as my time went on. But those leadership development events is what really got me started.
I love it. I love it. Mara, how about you? What have you been involved in over the past few years?
So I came from a small farm where we raised cattle and pigs, and ultimately, I wanted to show more pigs at the county fair, and I could enter pigs in both 4-H and FFA, so that's why I joined. So I kind of started with livestock judging, did the creed my first year and first-year member. My advisors kind of told me what to do, so I was told to be on the ag sales team. Ended up falling in love with that. So my main competitions were livestock judging, ag sales, poultry judging, and prepared public speaking.
So as we're here at Farm Bureau are working to really engage with our members, what do you see is the direct connection between FFA and Farm Bureau, maybe even specifically Washington Farm Bureau?
I would say that probably quite a few FFA members are people who may be involved in Farm Bureau in the future. However, I'm not sure that they necessarily realize how much Farm Bureau can actually help them and assist them and what Farm Bureau does for some of those small farmers. I think actually on your website, it's like 98% of Washington farms are small farms, and a lot of our FFA members come from that background. And so having them understand like what they can do as a young person with your Young Farmers and Ranchers program and all that, getting involved that way, I think is a really great connect as we're both advocating for the same thing.
I think I can speak for all of us. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and visit, to shadow some of Bailey, come have a wonderful time at the Capitol with some beef day. And but thank you for your leadership, and thank you for your involvement and for coming and speaking on this. We need you. We need your presence. We need your influence. And so please keep it up. Good luck on the rest of the year, and know that there's an open invitation. We'd love to hear more as you progress, and keep us posted on what's going on in your life and in your career. So thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
The WFB Update is a production of the Washington Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture in Washington State, ensuring our family farms continue to feed the world. To learn more, visit our website at www.wsfb.com.